Hello, everyone. My name is Wes Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. Apologies for the late start. We've had a few technical difficulties. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Now, if you're joining me live, drop a one in the comments so that I know I'm not talking to myself, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. Today, I'll be talking about preparing for your second year of articles, or as it's referred to these days, the second year of your training contract to qualify as a chartered accountant. Now, last week we talked about preparing for your first year of articles. Now, if you missed it, please check that out. I'll see if I can put the link in the description. I'll be talking about the 3-year contract journey because that's the one that I went through. If you're doing a 4 or 5-year contract, there may be other nuances, but it probably will have many similarities. Okay, let's get into the content. So before we get into the work part, I need to mention one important thing. Don't buy that fancy car. Yes, I know it looks cool, but it's not worth living hand to mouth after that. Buy a practical car. This may be a bit more applicable to the third years, but it might apply in second year as well. Some of you are thinking of buying a smart car or a fancy car. Anyways, let's get into the year itself. Many of you will be writing your second board exam in the second year of articles. And the main exam is towards the end of the year, but you need to qualify for it by doing a board course and completing those entry exams before that. Please take that board course seriously. It's the best practice for your board exam. Don't risk failing your board exam because you took it easy, or even alternatively because you were too committed to your job. Try to find a balance. I think the board courses start in April or May. Can anyone clarify that for me? Put it in the chat if you do know when board course starts, the exact time. I know there's some of you who are overachievers, and some of you are considering studying CFA and a postgraduate in tax. And I know some of you really love studying and you can manage everything, but some of you can do it. And what I would recommend is focus on board 2 alone in your second year. What's the point of passing CFA 1 or passing your HTIP tax and then failing board 2? Now, to clarify, I'm not saying you must study something else during your articles. Remember, passing your board exam is a massive achievement. It's a massive achievement just on its own, and you deserve to rest after that. I definitely didn't study anything for a while after board exams. I think I was scarred. But I know there are some overachievers out there who want to do the next thing, and hey, good luck to you. Go for it. Anyways, let's get into the work side of things. Towards the end of your first year and the beginning of your second year, you start taking on more complex and more high-level work. If you're working on smaller clients, there may even be opportunities for you to take on leadership responsibilities. If the opportunity is there, step up. Take it. Don't shy away from it. Some people don't get those opportunities. The other way to get those opportunities is to ask for them. Don't expect the opportunities to be offered to you. Your manager and your partner are busy with a million things, and they don't necessarily know what you're interested in. So you have to communicate those interests and do it a few times. Don't assume that you've mentioned it to them once that they're definitely going to know. They have a lot going, they might forget. Reiterate, this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in valuations. I'm interested in this industry. I'm interested in that industry. Mention it. Now, for example, if you are interested in valuations, have a conversation with your counseling manager about it. Have conversations with the managers on your job about it. They're more likely to give you work if they know what you're interested or passionate about. If they don't know what you're interested in, they're not just they can't smell that, oh, you're interested in this part or this industry. So you need to communicate that. Now, remember that in your second year, just doing your work properly is not something amazing. It's expected. You don't stand out by just doing your work properly, but there are many other ways to stand out. So you will now have first years that are doing the work that you did last year. If you want to show leadership capabilities, take those first years under your wing. Helping them grow will also help you to shine as a leader. If your first year made a mistake and your manager can see that you didn't try to assist, that's not going to look great for you, no matter how good or how well you did your work. Remember that first years also look up to you for guidance. If you do something a certain way, whether it's ethical or not, they might follow your lead. So make sure you lead with integrity. If you work for a large firm, second year is when you start getting additional training. Some of it is technical, but a lot of it is leadership training. Make the most of that training. That leadership training will also help you in the long run. Second year is generally also when you start getting into your groove. You've had a full year of work experience, you start to understand the organization, you've established some relationships with your peers, some with your seniors, your managers, and your partners. So you start feeling comfortable, or you can sometimes start feeling comfortable. Just don't get too comfortable. Don't forget to establish relationships with the new firsters that come in. They might not know a lot at that stage, but they will also be business leaders in 10 to 15 years from now. And people remember which seniors treated them badly and which seniors were helpful. To this day, I go out of my way for the seniors who helped me during articles. Even if I haven't spoken to them in months or years, when they call, I make time to speak to them. If I miss the call because I'm in a meeting or some other issue, I'll call them back straight after. A big regret of mine was not making better connections with my peers. So that's something that I keep reiterating with these sessions. For the audience, I'll be responding to questions towards the end. So please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. Let's talk a little bit about money habits. You might say, why money habits? But I'll give you some detail there. If you didn't start in your first year, then second year is the time to start saving and investing. Even if it's just 100 Rand a month, establishing the habit is the most important thing. And then make sure you increase that amount every time you get a salary increase. Some people might say that they'll start saving and they'll start investing when they're earning a big CA or chartered accounting salary. The problem is, by the time you become a chartered accountant, your money habits are basically set in stone already. So it's difficult to change. So start now. Learning about compound interest sounds good in theory, and you've studied it at university, but you need to see how it works with your own money in practice. Then moving on a little bit back to the actual work. For those of you who have to work overtime, I know it's tough. And it's not sustainable to work overtime for the whole year. It should not be an expectation that you work overtime for the whole year. There would be crunch times, but there should also be slower times. If it's always crunch time, then your company's lack of resources is the problem. Lack of appointing enough people is the problem. And something that's also, that you might not want to hear, but it can be difficult to advocate for change in your position, especially as some of you will only be there for one more year. It's not impossible, but it's not easy because managers will be like, why should I listen to this person? They're not going to be there in a while. So, but it can be done. Going back to, I'm hopping around a little bit, but going back to training, if your firm doesn't offer formal training, it'll be up to you to find training. You might even be able to get your firm to pay for it, or you can search for free training online. It's a lot more available than it was in the past. You might find good training for 250 Rand or 500 Rand. You just need to search. And I know it can be a lot on a trainee salary, but it'll be worth it. Another thing is that learning to communicate in a professional environment becomes more key in the second year. A good book to read is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That book helped me tremendously. Communication is such a key skill. So many issues are created because people don't communicate properly. And this is like people with big degrees and they've qualified. It's not a certain level. You'll be surprised how bad communication is in many places. If you communicate well with your manager and they feel that they can rely on you, you're likely to get much better ratings than someone who just does their work or just puts their head down and does their work. A good communicator with average work skills can tend to do better and be more recognized than an excellent worker with limited communication skills. Remember also to establish good relationships with your clients. Chances are you might be working on the same client for the next 3 years. Well, for you, it's the second year, so you'll have maybe one more year. And those clients are also potential job opportunities for you when you leave articles. So you have the ability to have a strong network by the time you leave articles, because you'll have your peers, your managers, people who are still junior to you, and your clients. Try to understand how your client makes money. Don't just study the balance sheet and the income statement. Try to understand how do they actually make money. If you can understand that, you can move into any business after articles. Now, if you're not working in audit, let's say you're working in corporate, they tend to move you around to different departments during your articles. Now, establish good relationships with the people in those departments. If you like a specific department, you might want to end up there after articles, so get a good feel for the department. Moving on, let's talk a little bit again about annual leave. You would have experienced your first year and your first time with 15 days of annual leave, which probably felt like nothing compared to your university holidays. It's not a lot, but a reminder you must take time off to avoid burnout. If you can afford to, I always recommend going on holiday outside of the city that you work in. If you stay in the city, you can take 2 weeks off and it just feels like a long weekend. But if you go away, even if you go for a long weekend, it can feel like a long holiday because of the change of scenery. And having a coach can be expensive, but it's something that's helped me later in my career. If you can get a coach early on, or at least just mentors, that will also help you. Learning about yourself is also crucial, and this does take time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and try different things to test out what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. In closing, I want to leave you with the one message. Remember, this is your life. You are responsible for it. If you want to succeed, it's on you. You're welcome to blame other people for you not succeeding. But the problem is that you might even be right, but the problem is the only person that's going to be negatively affected is you. Take charge of your growth. Take charge of your life. Remember that the final decision is always yours. Even if you make the wrong decision, you can learn from it and you can change it and you can still succeed. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Please feel free to share it with others who would also gain value from this.